Ethan Carter opened his eyes to a blinding light. The metal floor beneath him was cold and rough. He tried to move, but chains held his wrists and ankles. Around him, the trading hall was loud with alien voices, each one strange and sharp. He had never seen so many different shapes and colors of beings in one place. He remembered his capture. His team had been exploring the asteroid belt near the red dwarf star, and suddenly they were ambushed. One moment they were free, the next he was here, chained and alone. The traders laughed as they pushed him forward. Ethan's heart pounded. He had heard stories of humans being sold as curiosities or slaves. He knew he had to survive. His mind raced. How could he escape? Who could help him? He realized quickly that no one would. He was entirely alone. He was led into the center of a large arena-like hall. High above, platforms held rich buyers and nobles from many worlds. They whispered and pointed at him. He felt exposed, like an animal on display. His chest tightened, but he forced himself to breathe slowly. Fear was dangerous, but panic was deadly. "Another human," a trader called out. "Strong but broken. Worth some attention." Ethan tried to hide the trembling in his hands. He did not want to show weakness. Many buyers glanced at him, muttering among themselves. Some turned away, uninterested. Humans were unpredictable and feared. They were often dangerous even in captivity. Then a tall figure appeared on the platform. Ethan looked up and froze. The being was unlike any he had seen. She was taller than most humans, with smooth, pale skin that seemed almost silver. Her eyes were deep and bright, watching everything with calm curiosity. Her movements were graceful, but there was a sense of power in the way she carried herself. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The trader spoke again, trying to catch the attention of this new buyer. "Here, look, a young human, strong, resilient, and intelligent. Not many left in the outer sectors." The tall alien woman, Liara, stepped closer. She studied Ethan silently. There was no fear in her gaze, only interest. Ethan's heart beat faster. He had expected cruelty, not calm. There was something in her eyes that made him uneasy and curious at the same time. "How much for him?" she asked. Her voice was smooth and firm. The trader's eyes widened. "He is not for sale yet," the trader replied, but his tone was nervous. "Many are cautious about buying a human. They are known to resist and fight back, even chained." Liara did not flinch. She turned her gaze back to Ethan. For the first time, he felt seen, not like an object, but like a person. His mind raced. Who was she? Why did she care? After a brief negotiation, Liara paid the trader. Ethan watched in disbelief. He expected punishment or strict orders. Instead, she walked down from the platform and stood in front of him. "I am not here to own you," she said softly. "I am here because I see something in you. Strength, courage, and a fire that most of my people no longer have." Ethan could not speak. He blinked rapidly, unsure if this was a trick. He had been betrayed before, and trusting anyone could be deadly. But something about Liara made him want to believe her. He felt a flicker of hope he had not felt in months. The chains were removed one by one. Ethan flexed his wrists, feeling the blood return to his hands. He stretched his legs, testing their strength. He expected pain, but there was none. Liara watched him carefully, a small smile forming on her lips. "You do not need to kneel. You are free to move as you wish," she said. Her tone carried authority, but also respect. Ethan nodded slowly, still unsure. "Why me?" he asked. His voice was hoarse. "Why not someone else?" Liara tilted her head slightly. "Because you have survived. You are human, and humans are rare. But more than that, I see a spark in you that most beings lack. I see someone who can grow stronger, who can stand by my side." Ethan swallowed hard. He did not know if he should trust her. Months in captivity had taught him to expect the worst. But there was no malice in her words, only clarity. She guided him through the port. The crowds whispered and stared. Aliens who had been wary of humans now watched in surprise. A human walking freely with a powerful noble was not common. Ethan felt the weight of eyes on him but tried to ignore it. Liara led him to a ship docked nearby. It was sleek and quiet, unlike the noisy freighters around them. The ship hummed with power, and Ethan could feel its energy through the floor. Liara opened the main hatch and gestured for him to enter. He stepped inside, feeling the cool air wash over him. "This is my ship," she said. "We will travel together, and I will teach you what you need to survive in this galaxy. You will not be a slave. You will not be owned. You will learn to be strong, and in return, I will have your loyalty, not because I demand it, but because you choose it." Ethan looked around. The ship was unlike anything he had seen. Panels glowed softly, showing star maps and systems. It felt calm here, safe even, but he knew the galaxy outside was not safe. Danger lurked in every sector. "I do not understand why you care," Ethan said quietly. "I am just a human. I have nothing to offer someone like you." Liara studied him with her bright eyes. "You are wrong. Humans have something my people have forgotten: instinct, courage, and the will to fight against impossible odds. That is why I brought you here." Ethan did not know what to say. He felt a strange mixture of fear and relief. He had expected chains and pain, not respect and opportunity. Something about Liara made him believe that he could survive, and maybe even thrive. As the ship lifted from the dock and entered space, Ethan looked out the window. The red dwarf star glowed in the distance, tiny compared to the vast emptiness around it. For the first time in months, he felt a spark of hope. He was no longer just a captive. He was something more. And for the first time, he wondered what it meant to be chosen, not captured. Liara sat beside him, her gaze fixed on the stars. "You will learn, Ethan, that freedom is more than the absence of chains. It is knowing who you are and what you can become." Ethan nodded slowly. He did not fully understand yet, but he wanted to. Something deep inside him stirred. A desire to grow stronger, to survive, and to stand beside Liara, not as a slave, but as an ally. The ship moved silently through space. Ethan Carter, once chained and alone, now had a chance. A chance to learn, to fight, and perhaps to become more than he ever imagined. And Liara, the tall and powerful noble, watched him closely, knowing that she had made a choice that would change both of their lives forever. For the first time, Ethan did not feel like a victim. He felt like a human, and that feeling alone was worth everything. Ethan sat quietly in the main room of Liara's ship, still trying to understand everything that had happened. The chains were gone, but the memory of being captured remained strong in his mind. He kept glancing at Liara, who moved gracefully around the ship, adjusting controls and scanning the star systems ahead. She seemed calm, confident, and powerful, and yet there was a warmth in her presence that made Ethan feel safer than he had in months. "You must eat and rest," Liara said softly, noticing his tense posture. "You cannot think clearly when your body is weak." Ethan nodded slowly. He had not eaten since the capture, and his stomach growled in protest. Liara led him to a small dining area where food was prepared. It was simple but nourishing, and the smell made Ethan's mouth water. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if it was safe, then began to eat. Each bite reminded him of normal life, something he had longed for in the chains. While he ate, Liara explained the basics of her people, the Valari. She told him about their history, their society, and their values. They were not only strong physically, but also emotionally disciplined. They believed in balance and control, and emotions were a tool rather than a weakness. Ethan listened carefully, absorbing every word. "I did not bring you here to be a prisoner," Liara said. "I want you to learn, to grow stronger. You have the potential to survive in ways most humans cannot. I want to help you unlock that potential." Ethan looked at her, unsure what to say. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Even his parents had not believed in him the way she did. He felt a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "I am just one human. You could have chosen anyone." Liara smiled faintly. "Humans are rare, yes, but more than that, I see something in you. A spark that is valuable, courage, resilience, and a willingness to face fear. These are qualities my people have forgotten." Over the next few days, Ethan began to adjust to life on the ship. Liara taught him simple skills to move quietly, to observe surroundings, and to control his breathing. She wanted him to be prepared, not for chains, but for the dangers of space. Ethan learned quickly, surprising himself with how fast he adapted. Liara watched him, noting his determination and endurance. The ship traveled silently through the stars. Ethan noticed how calm Liara was during navigation. She moved through the corridors as if the ship were an extension of her body. Ethan tried to keep up, but he often stumbled over his own uncertainty. She would pause and correct him gently, never mocking, always patient. One evening, as the stars passed outside the viewing window, Ethan spoke. "I have never been treated like this before," he admitted. "Even when I was free on Earth, people expected something from me. Here, you just see me." Liara tilted her head. "That is because I do not wish to own you. Ownership is a chain. I do not believe in chains. I believe in choice. You may choose to follow me, to learn from me, or to leave. Your loyalty must come from within, not from fear." Ethan felt a strange warmth in her words. He had never thought of freedom in that way. Being free was more than not being in chains. It was having someone believe in you, someone to guide you without controlling you. As the days passed, Liara introduced Ethan to basic combat training, modified for his human abilities. Valari were physically strong, but humans had an edge in unpredictability and improvisation. Ethan was fast and resilient, and under her guidance he began to learn how to defend himself and others. Liara did not treat him as a student or a subordinate. She treated him as a partner, someone whose abilities complemented her own. During one training session, Ethan stumbled during a maneuver, nearly falling. Liara caught him by the arm. "Do not be afraid of failure," she said gently. "Fear is natural, but it should not control you. Learn from it. Use it to grow stronger." Ethan nodded, feeling a newfound determination. For the first time, he did not see fear as something that bound him. He saw it as a tool. He continued the exercise, moving faster and more confidently. At night, Ethan often found himself staring out the viewing window. The stars seemed endless, and he felt a mix of awe and smallness. Liara would join him sometimes, standing silently beside him. Words were not always necessary. The presence of another being, calm and confident, gave him reassurance. One day, the ship received a message. It was from the Valari High Council, summoning Liara to report on her movements and recent activities. Ethan listened as she read the message, her expression calm but alert. "There are dangers ahead," she said. "Some in the council do not approve of my decisions. They will question me about you, about my choices, but we will face them together." Ethan felt a surge of loyalty. He had no experience with politics or diplomacy, but he knew he wanted to stand beside her, not as a captive, but as an ally. He wanted to learn from her, to fight alongside her if needed, and to grow stronger under her guidance. Over time, Ethan began to feel more comfortable in the ship. He learned the names of different systems, the basics of navigation, and the routines of life aboard a Valari vessel. He practiced with Liara every day, building his endurance and skill. Liara was a patient teacher, never pushing him too far, but always encouraging him to do more than he thought possible. During one quiet moment, Ethan asked a question that had been on his mind since the day she purchased him. "Liara, do you ever fear me? That I might turn against you or fail?" Liara looked at him carefully. "I do not fear you. Fear is useful, but I trust in your choices. You have shown courage and resilience. That is why you are here, not as a slave, but as someone who can stand beside me." Ethan felt a mix of relief and pride. No one had ever trusted him like that. No one had ever given him a chance to prove his worth without chains, without threats, without fear. He began to understand that this was more than survival. It was growth. He was becoming something stronger, something more capable than he had been before. The days turned into weeks. Liara and Ethan traveled through different sectors, avoiding dangerous regions but occasionally encountering minor threats. Each encounter tested Ethan's skills, his instincts, and his courage. He surprised himself and the Valari crew with his quick thinking and determination. Liara continued to guide him, praising his successes and correcting his mistakes. Their partnership grew stronger, built on trust and mutual respect. One evening, as the ship floated silently through a dense nebula, Ethan realized how far he had come. He was no longer the frightened human in chains. He was stronger, faster, and more confident. He could think clearly under pressure and act decisively when needed. And most importantly, he trusted Liara, not because he had to, but because he chose to. Liara approached him, her presence calm and reassuring. "You have learned much, Ethan. But there is still more ahead. Challenges will come that will test both of us. Are you ready to face them?" Ethan met her gaze, feeling a surge of determination. "Yes, I am ready." Liara smiled faintly, a rare expression that softened her usually stern features. "Good. Then we move forward, together, not as master and slave, but as partners. Together, we will face what comes, and together we will grow stronger." Ethan nodded. For the first time since his capture, he felt a sense of purpose. He was no longer just a human in chains. He was someone who had been chosen, someone who had been given a chance to rise above fear and captivity. He had Liara by his side, guiding him, challenging him, and trusting him. And as the ship continued its journey through the endless stars, Ethan Carter, once a young human in chains, began to understand what it truly meant to be free, to be strong, and to have someone believe in him completely. Ethan Carter had begun to feel at home on Liara's ship, but peace was rare in the galaxy. One morning, the ship's sensors picked up a large group of unknown vessels approaching from the dark side of a nearby star system. Liara's eyes narrowed as she examined the readings. "Drath ships," she said quietly. "They have been hunting me for some time. Now they have found us." Ethan felt a chill. He had never fought in space before, and his mind raced. "Can we fight them?" he asked. Liara shook her head slightly. "Not alone. We must evade them first, then prepare, but you must be ready. You will need all your skills." The Drath Coalition was a violent faction known for raiding independent systems. Their ships were heavily armed, and their warriors were trained in brutal close-quarters combat. Ethan had heard stories of their cruelty. He looked at Liara and felt a mixture of fear and determination. He would not let her fight alone. Liara moved quickly, directing the ship through an asteroid field. The large rocks offered cover, but the Drath ships were relentless. Ethan watched the stars blur as the ship darted between obstacles. He had to remind himself to stay calm and follow instructions. "You must keep your breathing steady," Liara said. "Fear clouds judgment. Control your fear, and you control your actions." Ethan focused. He felt the fear, but he did not let it dominate him. He followed Liara's movements. mirroring her calm focus. For the first time, he realized how much he had learned from her guidance. His instincts were sharper, and his body reacted faster than before. Suddenly, a Drath boarding ship appeared from the shadows, dropping warriors onto Liara's vessel. Alarms blared, and the corridors filled with lights flashing red. Ethan's heart raced, but he did not hesitate. He grabbed a stun baton that Liara handed him and prepared to face the intruders. The Drath warriors were fast and strong, but Ethan had trained for moments like this. He moved quickly, striking with precision. Each encounter tested his speed, strength, and endurance. Liara was beside him, using her psychic abilities to anticipate attacks and guide his movements. Together, they were a surprising team, human and Valari, instinct and skill blending seamlessly. Ethan dodged an incoming blow and pushed a warrior into a wall. The sound of impact echoed through the corridor, but he did not falter. He noticed how Liara's calm presence steadied him, allowing him to act decisively even when surrounded. He had never experienced anything like this before, and yet he felt alive. As the battle continued, more Drath warriors entered. Ethan fought fiercely, using his speed and agility to create openings for Liara. He realized that humans had an edge in unpredictability, something the Valari valued but rarely possessed in their disciplined ranks. Liara seemed to notice this too, guiding him to exploit it. During a tense moment, a Drath warrior lunged at Liara from behind. Ethan reacted without thinking, throwing himself in front of her and deflecting the attack with his baton. He stumbled but recovered quickly. Liara's eyes met his, a look of gratitude and respect shining through. "Well done," she said softly, moving forward to incapacitate the remaining attackers. "Your instincts are improving. You are learning quickly." Ethan nodded, panting. He realized that the fight had been a turning point. He was no longer just a human in chains or a novice learner. He was someone who could defend himself and others. He had become stronger, more capable, and more confident. Once the immediate threat was over, Liara guided Ethan to a control room to assess the damage. The ship had been scratched and dented, but nothing critical had been destroyed. The Drath boarding party had been repelled, at least for now. "You did well," Liara said, "but this is only the beginning. The Drath will not give up. They will return, stronger and more determined. We must be prepared." Ethan felt a sense of pride, but also a weight of responsibility. He knew that he could no longer rely solely on Liara's guidance. He needed to continue learning and growing, for both their sakes. Over the next days, Ethan trained harder than ever. He practiced combat drills, studied tactical maneuvers, and learned more about the ship's systems. Liara guided him, but she also allowed him to make mistakes, knowing that each error was a chance to learn. Ethan began to anticipate her movements and the ship's needs, feeling more connected to the vessel and its operations. One afternoon, Liara and Ethan were reviewing the Drath attack simulations when she paused. "You have improved greatly," she said. "Humans are rare for a reason. Your resilience, your ability to adapt, your courage under pressure. It is remarkable." Ethan felt a warmth in her words. He had been taught to survive, to endure, but no one had ever praised him for his potential. He realized that he was becoming more than just a survivor. He was becoming someone capable of influencing outcomes, someone who could stand beside Liara as an equal in battle. Their bond grew stronger with each encounter. They shared quiet moments where words were unnecessary, each sensing the other's emotions and intentions. Ethan began to understand Liara's people better, appreciating their discipline and control, while she admired his human unpredictability and courage. As the ship traveled through safer regions, Ethan found himself reflecting on his journey. He had been captured, chained, and alone. Now he was learning, growing, and trusted by one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known and a desire to prove himself not out of fear, but out of choice. One evening, as the stars passed silently by, Liara approached him. "Ethan," she said, "the Drath will return, and next time they may be stronger. But I trust you. We are partners, and together we can face anything. Are you ready for what comes?" Ethan met her gaze, his resolve firm. "Yes, I am ready." Liara nodded, her expression serious but calm. "Good. Then we continue our journey. Together, we will face the challenges ahead, and together we will grow stronger." Ethan felt a deep sense of determination. He was no longer a frightened human in chains. He was someone who had been chosen, who had been trusted, and who was learning to rise above fear and captivity. He knew that the coming battles would test him, but he also knew that he was no longer alone. With Liara by his side, he could face anything. As the ship moved silently through the stars, Ethan Carter, once a captive human, prepared for the challenges ahead. He had grown stronger, braver, and more confident. He had learned that freedom was not just the absence of chains, it was the ability to choose, to act, and to stand beside someone who believed in him. And for the first time, he felt that he could truly survive in the vast and dangerous galaxy.